All right, so in this lesson, we're going to begin the process of setting up tools for us to use throughout the rest of this course. So the main tool that we use is the no flip knee. So this no flip knee has been modified so that it would also act as our invisible leg if this is the second course that you're having with me. The first being the introduction to the ideas of motion flow and enhanced IK. So in this lesson, we're going to start everything as we did in that training course, but we're going to make a few modifications along the way that will allow us to get more information out of a lot less nodes and constraints and different IKs. So with that, let's get started. All right, so let's first start off by creating our joints. And creating a couple of locators. Okay, so we're going to reference the joints we just created. And we're going to make another set that we're just going to delete in a bit. So what you want to do is you don't want to go directly on top of the joints that we created. You want to hold V, hit it off to a corner, then hit X, and then X again. Let me just drop this down a little bit. I just didn't like the way it looked. Reorient the joint. So let's open up our outliner. Joint 1. PSTJ Ori. So the naming convention is a very simple one. PSTJ Ori just means post space tool joint for orientation. This one post space tool joint for the IK, and just label it as a joint again. I like to do that a second time for any of the children. As we go through this, it does get a little bit complicated, so we're just going to run around. And this one we'll just call leg and not care about anything else about it, since this is just going to be deleted anyways. So with the leg selected, make a new layer. And now we're going to put in our IKs. So it's always an RP. I will group this IK. And we'll use this to turn off the visibility of all our IKs. This is probably going to be changed to just straight IK later on, but for now, it's just best to have them in their own group. And we'll just call this the orientation IK. Now we're going to take our first locator. We're just going to call it PS2J locator. We'll actually put the IK in the middle just so we could maintain some sort of naming convention. So let's group this now. Hit insert, move it to the center. So there we go. I'll grab this locator, move it up. So we're parenting the group that the locator was in to the joint, freezing it out, and then we unparent it. Alright, so everything should just go down the center line pretty easily. So we're just snapping it down. We want to make sure that we don't zero out the translations. And so now what we're going to do is, not going to group it, we're going to duplicate it, and then rename this from IK to PV group. So we'll just turn this into 180 so it's nice and even. Now we're going to take this locator here, open up Window, General Editors, going to look for a connection editor. Let's change the name to PV. Now we're going to put our translations in. So we're going to want translate Y to translate Y, translate X to translate X. And we don't want anything to be done with translate Z, as it shouldn't move in that direction anyways. So now we're going to group this again. Just call this PV buffer. Alright, and then there you go. So now when we open up our outliner, we're going to go look for our IK handle. Grab our PV, hit Control to grab the ORI IK, constrain, pole vector. Then we grab our IK locator, hit Control again, constrain, point. And let's parent this locator here, just so we could see how this rotates. And you can see we have the flipping, but for the most part, everything's working the way it should. So we're just going to add some limits to this. Easiest way to do that is just to pull everything in a direction in which it breaks. So translate X. We open up the attribute editor. It shouldn't be anything less than 0, so we'll turn on the min and we'll do 0.05. We want to push it for as close as possible, so there's not much of a difference between 0.1 and 0.05, and we want a little bit of a buffer zone to keep us safe. And so we could see how this will rotate and flip around. We'll go with 0.5 to keep it just a little bit cleaner and make the rotation a little bit less harsh. And so Y shouldn't be anything less than 0 also, since it's facing in the wrong direction. So we just put a max of 0. We're basically all set with our first portion. Now, the next thing we're going to look at is how to rotate this and make all the connections stay basically in the right alignment on the other side. So if we have two sides of the legs, things will work out the same. So we first have to rotate it 0. Then we can see everything is facing the opposite direction of what it was before. So that's a little bit of trial and error. Okay, so let's try this one more time. where we take a look at what's going on. So I believe the first thing I'm actually going to do this time around is bring this into -1. And then test out the results. Now let's go for a 180 here also, and test out the results again. So that's not solving that problem. Alright, so now within this position, let's just cut through. And that's it. So this here is the equivalent of the other side, and we're just going to take a look at what our control PV group is doing. So on this side, it's -180. It's just basically rotated in X 180 and scaled in -1. So that means that we have everything we need to send this out as two different files. So this one could be the right. So this one could just be right no flip knee, whereas when it's rotated on the other side, it'll be left no flip knee. So what we're going to do from here is just file, export all. Let's call it right no flip. Hit export, and then we'll be able to import it into our other scenes. So with this tool made once and knowing how to do the proper rotations and negative values, we're going to have this available to us throughout all our rigging, which is going to be really great in that it's going to give us something reliable, dependable, and really easy to set up, because all we're doing is importing and giving it a prefix. So make sure you save your work, and I will catch you in the next video.